Welcome to the WRS Effective Rates and Annuity Adjustments presentation, a Your Benefits in Retirement topic. By the end of this presentation, you should be able to define WRS Effective Rate and Annuity Adjustment, explain how the Core Trust Fund and Variable Trust Fund effective rates are calculated, and explain how the Core Trust Fund and Variable Trust Fund annuity adjustments are calculated. Let's start with some definitions. Before defining effective rate of return and annuity adjustment, it's important to understand the role of SWIB. SWIB is the State of Wisconsin Investment Board. It's a separate state agency that manages the assets, core and variable trust funds, of the Wisconsin retirement system. The core and variable trust funds are the destination of your required retirement contributions. SWIB is required by law to make investment decisions solely for the benefit of WRS members like you and me. The investment returns are reported on a calendar year basis. The effective rate of interest is based on the investment performance of the core and variable funds, if you participate. More on that later. It is credited to your account balance each year. We do a review and create the effective rate that will be applied to your accounts to make sure that we have enough money for everyone in retirement. This includes the 5-year smoothing for the core fund and many other factors that apply to your retirement. The annuity adjustment is the change applied to retiree monthly payments and is also based on investment performance. The annuity adjustment is applied to retiree payments May 1st of each year. The WRS has 2 trust funds. Let's start with the Core Trust Fund. The core fund is considered to be fully diversified. Stocks and bonds make up part of the total investment portfolio, but other types of investments are also included, such as real estate and private equity. The basic idea is to better balance some of the risk that is possible with any type of investment. The investment returns of the core fund are also recognized over a period of 5 years rather than all at once. This is known as smoothing. Smoothing also helps to limit the effects of year-to-year market volatility on retirees' incomes. The effect that this has is that the highs aren't so high and the lows aren't as low as they could be without the smoothing. More on that coming later in the presentation. The Variable Trust Fund is an optional fund you can elect to participate in and is considered to be a more aggressive option than the core fund. This is because the variable fund is invested entirely in the stock market and lacks the mix of other investment types used in the core fund. Variable fund participation has the potential for higher rates of interest credited to your retirement account than the core, but with that comes a higher risk for losses. The investment returns for the variable fund are fully recognized each year. This means the variable fund does not have the smoothing feature. So you might be wondering how investment returns, effective rates, and annuity adjustments are connected. This next section will cover that. First, it's important to understand how 5-year smoothing works. Think of a line of 5 buckets. Core fund investment gains and losses will be separated into 5 buckets. 1/5 of the gain or loss from the current year's investment will be included in the calculation for the current year's effective rate of interest. The remaining 4/5 will be set aside for the following 4 years. So the effective rate of interest for the current year uses 1/5 of the current year return and 1/5 of the return from each of the prior 4 years. Active and former employee retirement contributions and the matching contributions made by the employer are invested and grow over time. Upon retirement, all contributions and accumulated interest are transferred into the annuity reserve. This is where all the monthly benefits are paid from in retirement. The annual annuity adjustment is determined by several factors. The first is the annual effective rate of interest for the year because you still get an investment return that is applied to your annuity. We also subtract an assumed 5% investment return that we included in your initial calculation for your lifetime benefit. And we look at actuarial factors related to the benefit such as life expectancy. If we live longer, then this affects the cost of maintaining the lifetime benefit. Now we're going to look at why the core fund and variable fund have different adjustments. Your annuity from the core fund is guaranteed for life. Your core floor is the amount of your payment when you began retirement. To help you better afford retirement and avoid financial hardships, ETF builds in an assumed 5% interest into your annuity calculation. The annuity adjustment is basically what is left over of the investment return once we take that assumed 5% interest out. Over time, the annual annuity adjustments may cause your payment to increase. Again, these adjustments are based on WRS performance. If there is a negative annuity adjustment, we can only take back gains from previous years. We can never take you below your core floor. Put more simply, your retirement payment will likely increase over time. Poor investment performance can stop or reverse that growth, but that will only affect changes that have been made after your retirement. You will always maintain a guaranteed minimum payment with that built-in 5% assumed interest that is not subject to any decrease caused by poor investment performance. If you want to see what that guaranteed minimum payment is, look at the amount on your annuity payment statement where it says core floor. If you stay in the variable fund in retirement, there are some other important things to consider. A part of your retirement payment will remain in the core fund, but the other part is still invested in the variable fund. Remember, the full returns, positive or negative, are recognized each calendar year rather than the 5-year smoothing like in the core fund. This means you'll experience greater fluctuations to the variable part of your retirement payment year by year. Bigger positive gains, but also bigger losses. As a result of these fluctuations and no smoothing, the variable portion of your retirement payment does not have a guaranteed lifetime base amount like the core fund. The variable portion of your retirement payment can go below your starting amount. Let's take a look at how some of the concepts we have discussed play out. This graph may give you a better idea of that concept. The core fund in green compared to the variable fund in purple shows the changes in annuity adjustment rates over time. Both change over time and both represent gains and losses, but the variable line does so much more from one year to the next. The amount of your retirement payment changes from one year to the next based on these adjustments. Here we have some historical data for both the core and variable funds. We can see the calendar year returns on the left, the effective rate of interest in the middle, and the corresponding annuity adjustment on the right. I want to direct your attention to calendar year 2008. In 2008, there were big losses in both the core and variable funds, but the variable fund was worse when compared to the core fund. The variety of investments in the core fund helped offset some of the losses experienced in the stock market, but since the variable fund is all stocks, it felt the full impact of the market decline. You'll also see a big difference in the 2008 effective rate of interest between each fund. The variable fund losses are fully recognized each year, so it more closely matches the investment return. The effective rate of interest for the core fund in 2008 only recognizes 1/5 of that calendar year loss, with the rest coming from 1/5 of each of the prior 4 years not pictured in the example. In the 4 years that followed, however, the big loss in 2008 puts downward pressure on the effective rates for the core fund all the way through 2012. The same thing happens with your annuity adjustments. The annuity adjustments feel that loss in the 4 years to follow. That's what we mean by a 5-year smoothing in the core fund. Compare the 2009 calendar year and effective rates of interest between each fund to see how that is represented. Let's take a look at some resources where you can learn more. The Annual Returns, Rates, and Adjustments page can be found under our WRS Performance tab. Here you'll see a list of yearly WRS investment performance for both the core fund and variable fund going back to 1986. It lists the rate of return, WRS effective rate of interest, and annuity adjustment. You can search the list by year. Check out our Annuity Payments and Adjustments page where you will find detailed information about annuity payments and adjustments, like the information you received in this presentation, along with links to several other resources. Another page you might find helpful is the Core Trust Fund and Variable Trust Fund page, where you will find detailed information about the trust funds, along with links to resources and a great explanation of the effective rate of interest. Other webinars are available on many of the topics mentioned in this presentation. Variable fund and calculating retirement benefits, just to name a few. Check out the ETF events page for the full listing of webinars as well as ETF events near you. Stay connected to ETF. Get up-to-date information about your WRS benefits by subscribing to ETF email updates, talking with a benefits specialist, or connecting with ETF on one of our Twitter or LinkedIn social media sites.